Have you ever wondered how much the Pope earns? Does he get paid a huge salary? Does he live in luxury, surrounded by comfort and privilege? Or does he not get paid anything at all? The truth is, almost nobody knows how money works in the Vatican, and what little is said is full of half-truths and speculation. But today, we're laying it all out. You'll understand where the Vatican's money comes from, how much the Pope earns, and what this has to do with the Church's spiritual mission. Before we continue, comment down below, how much do you think the Pope's salary is? Take a guess. Let's see who gets it right. And if you love learning more about our Catholic faith in depth and without any fluff, subscribe to the channel now, because here we talk about what many people are afraid to touch. Alright, let's understand what's behind the money in the Vatican. Before we talk about the Pope's salary, we need to understand what the Vatican is, and how it supports itself. The Vatican is a sovereign state, with its own laws, its own currency, its own passport, and of course its own economy. It doesn't directly depend on Italy or any other country. So, the question is, where does the Vatican's money come from? It's not from the tithes of parishes around the world like many people think. Each parish, each diocese has its own administration connected to the local bishop. The Vatican's money comes from other sources. First and most important, donations from the faithful around the world, especially through what's called Peter's Pence, a collection taken once a year intended directly for the Holy See. This help is used to maintain the Pope's activities and for charitable works. Also, the Vatican collects money from visits to the Vatican museums, which receive millions of tourists every year, sales of stamps, coins, and souvenirs, which are highly valued by collectors, financial investments including real estate and stocks, and also from banking services of the IOR, the famous Vatican Bank. So, the Vatican does have income, but now comes the question that many people have. With all this money circulating, how much of it goes into the Pope's pocket? This is where we get to the most controversial point. So, how much do you think the Pope earns? $100,000 a month, $500,000, a symbolic salary? Actually, the Pope doesn't get a salary, that's right. Officially, the Pope doesn't earn anything for his work. He lives within the Vatican structure, has everything he needs, but doesn't receive a monthly payment like a regular employee. Pope Francis himself has stated that he has renounced any type of payment, and this wasn't a new thing. Benedict XVI also didn't receive a salary. They chose to live simply, showing that the Pope's mission isn't a job, it's a calling. By the way, Pope Francis, from the very beginning of his papacy, refused to live in the luxurious apostolic palace, choosing to live in a much simpler residence, the Casa Santa Marta. He even takes care of part of his own routine, drives a regular car, and even chose to wear normal black shoes instead of the traditional red ones. In other words, he lives with everything he needs but without a salary, without luxury, and without attachments. Now, this doesn't mean that everyone in the Vatican lives like this. There are a lot of expenses, a lot of structure, and even controversies. But hold on, we'll get there. Even with a pope who doesn't get paid, the Vatican has, and needs to have, a gigantic structure. After all, we're talking about a sovereign state with embassies, security, employees, construction, events. All of that costs money, and a lot of it. Just to give you an idea, more than 4,000 people work directly for the Vatican, including religious workers and regular employees. Many of them, yes, receive salaries, just like any public servant in any other country. On top of that, there are expenses with the maintenance of the Roman Curia, which is the group of departments that help the Pope govern the Church. The Vatican museums, which are one of the main sources of income, but also of expenses. Diplomatic and charitable works around the world, hospitals, schools, missions, and of course security. The Pope doesn't just have any bodyguards. There is the famous Swiss Guard, one of the oldest in the world, highly trained and maintained by the Vatican. But, is everything really transparent? In recent years, Pope Francis has been pushing for more clarity in the Church's finances. He even created a secretariat for the economy to organize the accounts and cut down on waste. But the truth is, it's not all that simple. So this question is unavoidable and dangerous. What does the church do with the money it receives? Does it really help the poor, or does it just hoard treasures? The answer may surprise you, and it will make you look at the church in a new light. The money that comes into the Vatican doesn't just sit around. A large part of it is used to support the church's mission of spreading the gospel around the world. Hospitals, schools, orphanages, shelters, missions in poor countries. Not many people know this, but the Catholic Church is one of the largest charitable institutions on the planet. Caritas International alone is present in over 160 countries, working where the government often doesn't even reach. Also, the Vatican funds dioceses that can't support themselves, especially in poor regions of Africa, Asia, and Latin America. In other words, the Vatican's money in many cases goes back to help those most in need. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Because of some past scandals, many Catholics have become distrustful, and with good reason. There were abuses, yes, mismanagement, lack of transparency. That's why Pope Francis has been promoting strict administrative reforms, seeking to clean up the Church's image and regain the trust of the faithful. But he himself has said the Church should be poor for the poor. It's not enough to just talk, you have to set an example. And this leads us to an important reflection. What is the true role of the Pope? Is he a head of state, or a shepherd of God's flock? Let's end the video with this answer, and it might change the way you see everything. At the end of the day, the Pope isn't an employee with a fixed salary. He's a shepherd, a spiritual father to more than 1 billion Catholics all over the world. Yes, he lives in the center of one of the most powerful and symbolic places in history. Yes, he has responsibilities that go way beyond what we can imagine. But above all of that, he is a servant. And that's the big difference. While the world chases power, status, money, the Pope is called to serve in humility, to be a living sign of the gospel, even if it means giving up everything. If you've watched this far, comment, "Servant of the servants of God," just so I know who stayed until the end. And of course, if this video helped you better understand how the Vatican works, and made you see the Church with more depth, leave a like. This helps a lot to spread this content. And if you want to continue diving into the Catholic faith with truth, with depth, without fear of touching on difficult subjects, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. See you in the next video. Peace and goodwill. Do you want to understand the prophecies shaping the future of the world? In the ebook Catholic Prophecies, The Future of the World Revealed, you'll uncover powerful messages from the Bible, saints, and Marian apparitions. Most importantly, you'll see how they connect to the times we are living in. Don't be left in the dark. Get your copy now. The link is in the description and pinned comment.